All right, I'm hitting the record button before we do anything ridiculous and hilarious.
Oh, God, I can't sing. Uh,
So it sounds like
I'm alive.
you've recovered from your sickness.
Aaron Michael, 2 fucking weeks. 2 weeks I've been dying.
I'm sorry, man.
Ah,
I
two
I
weeks.
my immune system has gotten the preschool bump, so I forget that not everyone else's immune system has it, and
Oh my
exposing
God.
people to that many small children. Yeah, Chris and Taria got super sick too. It was like
Did,
I hit them
did,
up.
did everybody else get sick?
Everybody got sick. I think I am the only person who didn't get sick.
The
That
Drake. Drake didn't get sick.
it was like, well, he's got the middle school boost, but like Andrea got
I
sick,
don't
Dom
know.
got sick, Lee got sick, Jake and Amy and Joshua got sick, Chris and
Oh my
Taria got
God.
sick, you got sick. I honestly think everybody who went to that place besides me and Drake got sick.
Well, okay. So I took 2 COVID tests that week. It progressively got worse. Both of those COVID tests came back negative, thankfully. But when I got back to work, because again, I took several days off of work. Like just I died. I died. I ascended. I met my maker. But when I got
you
back to
became
work,
you became Brett the White and came back down.
yes, I did. But, but all I had on were tiny whiteys, so it didn't like it was Brett the White, but nobody wanted to see it. But apparently there's another strand of COVID, because there always is.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, it's not even showing up on COVID tests anymore. You have to go to a doctor to get it. I'm like, you know what? I didn't pre-order this. Like, this isn't what I wanted. So,
uh, uh,
but
the COVID, the gift that keeps on giving, you know?
yeah, but I got some like solid game time in, man. Finish, dude. I don't know if you just want to jump in. I got so much to say, brother. I got
I
so much to say.
it's been long enough that like I'm pretty like I'm ready to talk about some stuff too. I'm pretty excited.
So you just want to do this one as like a catch-up episode?
Yeah, we're
Like, like
no both of us have enough in the barrel that we don't need a topic. We just need to get it out so that we can concentrate.
yeah, for reals, dude. Like, so we've already established I died. Brett the White, he's been playing some video games.
Mm-hmm.
In my plague exile, I've been playing some goddamn video games.
All right.
But
Enough foreplay. Tell us what you're playing.
uh, uh brother, I beat Rebirth. I beat Rebirth. God, it was so good. It was so good. It was too big, but it was so good.
I'm with you
I
on that.
love.
I'm with you on that too big statement because like I have been playing just like jump in, play, jump in, play, jump in. I've been playing on my lunch breaks and I'm playing before work. And then like I don't think I think I still have one more area before I'm done. Before I'm in the last area, I would say at least. I have like 104 hours in that game and I believe it. Like I've been playing it so much.
You've eclipsed me. I've been kind of creeping your trophy count, and like the PlayStation keeps kind of. I don't know if how accurate it is, but it's somewhat accurate on some games. But it's been keeping track of your playtime too. And dude, you've like well eclipsed me. But there was a point where I was like, you know what? I think it was probably Gingaga, where I was like, fuck it, I'm finishing this game.
I I I also hit a fuck it point there.
So
I don't want to say too much because it's but
we
like
won't spoil it.
I also hit a fuck it point there, but my fuck it point I was just like I'm gonna put this down for a little bit, and then like if you go back, I mean I don't know what you can see, but like I like put it down for a little bit, and then I picked it back up, and I literally completed everything in the entire area before I moved on. So like
Yeah, I've not been creeping that much, but yeah, like what what they were able to accomplish in 4 years. And it's not like the game's big. The game's arguably too big, but everything in that game is quality.
Yes. I
Like
agree
down
with.
to like the finest of details in that game, like all the little systems and because it jukes and jives all over the place. Like all those little mini games,
Mhm.
you rarely do the same thing twice,
Yeah.
except in the open world stuff, which I have my own. I think that's kind of where it got me, but it's it's quality, man. Like it's a solid 10 out of 10 video game.
Yeah. Like I the thing that I like about it and the thing that makes it that has made it like I don't know. Like I don't give out scores for games. I don't like but like the thing that makes it so good to me is like like it's complete nostalgia. I'm gonna start off the top before anyone thinks
Oh
we're
yeah,
gonna go into some like huge like game design theory. It's nostalgia. It's purely
yeah,
nostalgia. But like I remember playing the first game and like going through and like every area in Final Fantasy VII has this vibe that like there's so much more than you actually get to experience because you need to move through it for story reasons, not to like talk to the oldest man in the village and have him tell you every story he knows. You just some of the stuff you just move through. And then like the game is like, here's this blue icon. If you go to this blue icon, you can move through the story however fast you want to. We don't care. But I literally have written an entire like like an entire chapter of a book that explains the history of the every bit of the land that you're standing in down to the T. And if you want it, you can have it. You can go and read all of this and find all of these interesting little places and every certain section that we put something in, we gave a name to. You can go and explore the cache. Like they put so much in there that's just for those people who are in that nostalgia bubble, and I'm in it so hard right now. Like
yeah.
I'm in it so hard, and like then like the little intrigue that's happening with a certain character whose the little scenes are peppered through the story, and I'm like if you could just like take this feeling that I have right now while I'm playing this game and clone it, I could play this clone series of games for the rest of my life. Like if you could somehow clone the exact feeling that I'm getting while playing Final Fantasy VII Remake and like just this is the exact same feeling over and over again, the series, that would pretty much be the only game I ever play.
Oh, definitely, dude. I really hope that like this is the blueprint for Final Fantasy kind of going forward between 16 and remake and rebirth. Dude, they're on a hot streak.
Yeah,
Um,
just
and we were kind of talking about it before the party and stuff, and like I kind of depending on what time of day you ask me, like there were days when I was playing that game where I was like, man, like I'm really bummed out by this game. Like just it was pissing me off in some parts, and then there were other days where like just the nostalgia and the music and all these other things. Like I love those characters. I love everything about those characters, and I'm getting more of those characters in these games, and like that makes me happy. But if I had played like we live in I thought, dude, we were both blown away by 16.
oh yeah.
And the problem that I'm having with the game is like, we played 16 less than a year ago, and we're already on 7 remake, which, dude, in a that like that in and of itself, especially going back to like the 13 to versus 13 days when we weren't sure, like when we were getting another Final Fantasy, like the fact that we got two like A tier quality Final Fantasy games within a year is just baffling. But I think 16 spoiled me to the point where it was the perfect blend of exploration, side quest, and main story. Where this one is like, okay, you go to a big main area, you have all these little things to do, and then you go to another big main area, and you have all these little things to do. And it's kind of like rinse repeat with a lot of stuff. And I think that's what ticked me off. But it's one of this, like, I can't stay mad at you, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I can't stay mad at you.
I hear you. I mean, I am absolutely, if I wasn't completely like up to my eyebrows in the nostalgia of all of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I would be like, if it was a game that I don't have this feeling for, I don't know if I would get as much joy out of all of the running around and, the paragraphs of text about what happened in this area and who fought who and what war. I'd be like, does this actually matter to the story, or is this completely just history? And then once it's like
Yeah.
the third time where I'm like, oh, this is completely just history, it doesn't matter to anything that's going on, I don't know if I would be as excited to like run around and do all the side quests. But since like every area in Final Fantasy VII, specifically the areas I've covered in Rebirth, are like, these like nostalgia fueled trips down the, history of Final Fantasy VII that, like, in the original context before these games came out, you would have to like, find graphic novels and books and, like friggin' mobile games to try and get this much detail about the Final Fantasy VII world, having them like put it all in front of you and just say like, run over to this expedition point and we'll tell you exactly what happened in the friggin' Junon Midgar War. And I'm like, yes, I want to know. But like, if it was another game that didn't have that nostalgia for me, I don't know I'd feel the same way. So like, I totally hear where you're coming from when it gets to the point where like doing it over and over again is repetitive. Because if it was any other game that didn't have this level of nostalgia for me, I don't know that I would care.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed. You got the towers and all that other, like, but I love Assassin's Creed. I don't know, man. Maybe it's like timing. I don't know what it is.
I also
The game
think
is phenomenal.
I also think that it's important because like it's a huge, like, somehow within the same, of a remake of one game within the series of remakes, they managed to make Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. While, I mean, the engine is almost one for one. The graphics are better in Remake, but like better by how much? Because Remake, I mean, they're better in Rebirth, but better by how much? Because Remake looks so good. They managed to make it feel completely different than the first one while literally being in this, not even the same world, it's the same game.
Yeah, I think I may have texted you about it too. I had a hard time with the combat at first. I was so ingrained with Remake.
Mm-hmm.
I went through it twice. I I may have played it 3 times. I don't really remember, but I know I played it twice for sure. Once, of course, when it came out, and then I played it again a few months later for the platinum. I went through on hard mode, and I had that game down to a science. And for some reason, I don't know if it was the synergy attacks, all the things that they added to it, but I could never fully grasp Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally a me thing. It's the same sort of like expanded combat system, the same sort of like world as Remake, but it's expanded, but it's just slightly different to the point where I it kind of broke my brain a little bit, and I never really got good at the combat.
It
At least
took
I
me
don't think that I did.
it took me a while to figure out what they actually like want from you. And like
Yeah,
once I figured it out, then I got immediately way better at fighting in the game. Like one of the things that like took me a while to get, and this, I mean, it's kind of spoilery, but I hope it helps anyone who hears this. Like the actual elemental attacks, like actually putting an elemental materia, having it maxed out, and then casting it on an enemy at the right time are like super effective. And then like when you're using skill that has an elemental attachment to it or something like that, it's like less. Like I had a boss that I was trying. It was the Marbro. I hope that's not a spoiler, but Marbro's in like every Final Fantasy game, so I feel like can I can get away with that. But I was like, okay, then I'll clip elemental and I think it was fire. I don't remember for sure, but like elemental and fire, and I'll use flame bolt all the time, and that will stagger him and kick his butt. And like I was getting dogged by him, and then I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put Aerith in here. I'm gonna give her the highest level fire materia I have. I'm gonna put on Arcane Ward, and I'm gonna blast him with a freaking fire and see what happens. And like hit him and literally did 999 damage like twice in a row and like almost one shot him.
Yeah, there's ways to break those games. The materia system, I think, is absolutely amazing. And
I
once
love I love that they were able to give you that same feeling that Final Fantasy VII has when you really stack your materia properly on a character, even though it's like live action, like the fights are like not like you know ATB, they're like actual live fighting, so like you're actually moving around, but if you stack your freaking materials right, you can absolutely massacre some stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And remake was like that too, where depending on, and you had to have loadouts too, and I think that's one of the cool things about this one. You could switch out your different loadouts and all that instead of just like unequipping, re-equipping, all that other stuff. I had to write things down for remake. But there's ways to break these games where, like for example, with the arcane ward stuff, and then Yuffie's doppelganger ability.
Oh yeah.
And then, dude, if you've got like four Euphies going around and like they're all casting magic and they're all doing like multiple times damage and stuff because of the arcane ward that dude, you wreck everything in that game. Those characters are so flippin' broken. Oh, you know what? Not broken. Just if you take the time to learn the characters and just really learn the game, it really rewards you for that.
Yeah. That's the thing that I love about it is like I feel like while your kind of weapon skills give you like a path that you're supposed to go down based on what you get and like what the character's abilities are, like you can set anyone up for pretty much anything, and there are some combinations in there that just break the entire game if you load them right. Like one of the things that I learned real quick was if you use ATB boosting stuff and then give Cloud the enemy skill and have him use, I think it's like, I can't remember if it's like plasma shock or like static shock, where like every time you get the ATB bar, it does this like lightning attack.
Yeah.
And I had, at one point I had my Cloud just like, all he's doing is just flying across the screen with triple strike, and anytime he gets close to anybody, it like, the lightning goes off, and it's just like hitting him, and then his ATB's charging, so then I do it again, and my Cloud is just hitting every enemy, like running around in a circle, just blasting off lightning and slashing everything on the screen until it dies.
That's so good.
Oh god. And like when I got to a part of the game where there is a certain character who is, let's say, has less hands than all of the other characters, like that doesn't actually narrow it down that much, who is, I got to a certain part where a specific character, his voice changes. So I was using
that threw me off.
Do you not know who I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, yeah,
So I'm right there with you.
I was not ready. Like I know that it's a thing, and like I remember it from the original, but like I was not expecting like them to like throw him like a ass catch him voice out of nowhere. I was not ready for that.
What?
But like because the game was like, hey,
less hands than the other.
I was like, because he doesn't have hands, but then like the phrasing less hands, there's another character who also doesn't have hands, has less hands than the other character, so that doesn't narrow anything down. I was like,
Queen's Blood tournament kind of proved you wrong there. He has just as many hands as everybody else.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the coughing. I'm still
Dude,
covering a little bit.
dude, 80% of this podcast is me coughing, so not a
Yeah.
problem. I but I started
Right.
using him like I had him as my main character, so like I started like kind of rethinking the way I had him set up, and then like once I started thinking about it, I was like, wow, if I just put some like block stuff on you, you are going to be insane. Just being able to get into vengeance mode faster and being able to use it all the time. And then also I have the Watcher's Rights or whatever that move is called, where I can use the vengeance bar to heal people. Like, and I was like, every character in this game is set up so well. Like, this is nuts. Like, I am so excited to see, like, I'm not done with it yet. And I'm not even like, I'm not excited to see what the next game holds in I'm ready to move on, but like in like they have managed to make 10 out of 10 perfect games. I can't even imagine like topping this in the third one, and they kind of have to. Like,
Yeah. I won't talk about the ending or anything like that.
yeah, I'd kill you.
But if, huh?
I said I'd kill you.
I would, no, I wouldn't do that. That's not fair. I, the, the third one, I think it's going places. It's got to be bigger. Well, okay. The middle of the series had to be big anyways because of like leaving Midgar and just how that game opened up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So this game always had to be big. Like there was no getting around it. And I think my complaints aside, because I think all games are too big anymore. And it's not just exclusively this game. I think all games are too big. This game they had to be this big and they pulled it off. They absolutely pulled it off. But that third game is going places. And it's going places that I don't think anybody is expecting. I think it's I don't know, man. It
So excited.
what?
I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
it's I don't know if that's a PS5 game. I don't know if they take another 4 years. Technically, it was less than that because I know they had integrate in between. But it's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they cap it off. I don't know when they do it.
And
I'm I'm pumped though. Like, and
it
then once we get that one, like we could sit here and play the entire thing as one big ass game. Crazy.
like I will absolutely, that's one of it's already cemented, but like it will be one of those games that it will be one of those game apparently series that will land in the Secret of Mana zone of probably probably not once a year, but maybe once every 2 years. I'll literally play all three of them again.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I mean, like just the gaming time alone of trying to make it through all three of them is a different beast than just playing Secret of Mana. But like it's just so well done, and it's just so I've enjoyed it so much. There's no way I'm not going to. Like, okay. Well, I
I
literally
would pro- last thing I'll say, just what you say like, with the replay it every year, I would actually compare it more to Mass Effect. Like how we kind of view that series, like it's they're individual games, but like we look at it as one saga. That's kind of how I would probably end up playing it. One Mass Effect game after the other. Where they're separate games, but I view them as three parts of one whole. If that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of where
I'm still
I
terrified.
got it. I got. Oh, dude, I can't wait for it. I
I'm
gotta tell you
still
something though,
terrified. Go for it.
Aaron Michael. I gotta tell you something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told you how I kind of felt about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a callback to an earlier episode about games respecting our time and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What Rebirth did, and also I kind of blame my sickness for this too. Brother, I'm playing Persona 5 Royal.
Oh yeah, I forgot you told me that.
I'm playing Persona 5 Royal, and I'm kind of peppering in. I'm playing the Switch a little bit too. I'm playing some Secret of Mana on that one as well, just kind of like in my off time. But my main game right now is Royal. When I left that game, because I kind of dipped in and out of it over the couple, it came out in 2020, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been dipping in and out of it. I left at about 30 hour, around the 30 hour mark, and I have put in the last couple weeks, about 2.5 weeks, whatever, about 40 hours into it. I just crossed the 70 hour mark. I'm in the, what is his name? Okamura?
Uh-huh. Okumura.
Okamura? Yeah, I'm in that palace right now. And I'm on my way to a platinum trophy.
Persona 5, you
Um,
bastard.
I'm well, and we were talking about games that respect our time, and I know I kind of went after that game a little bit. I am what I'm doing is like, cause I don't really have like a lot of time to play video games. The bulk of my time is on the weekends. I have been, and this is going to lead me into another. I told you I have so much to say to you, my friend. So I'm kind of going down this rabbit hole of Persona 5 here. So in the mornings I get roughly about 30 to 45 minutes to play video games, and I do all my little stuff. So all my little Persona things, I do those throughout the day and all that stuff. I do all those in the morning, and on the weekends I do my palaces and mementos and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of struck a really, I've got a good schedule going with it to like the point where I kind of change my tune on it. I do believe that game respects your time.
It, I mean, it gives you a lot of freedom, and it lets you choose when you do things and when you
Yeah.
like. So it lets you like when you have time to go into a dungeon and run around, you can. But if you don't, there's tons of things that are, I wouldn't say equally as important, but important that you can do in a small amount of time. I get you.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that are kind of like falling by the wayside. There's certain confidence that I'm not really touching. I do know what I'm supposed to be doing. So for example, the stuff with the catchy, I know that, his things lead to the true ending of the game, that kind of stuff. I'm really only doing the confidence that I really, really like, other than Akechi, because he's a bitch.
He is a little bitch.
Akechi's a little bitch. So,
Are you also doing the doctor, the therapist?
no, not right. Yeah, not the therapist. No, I know I should be.
The
I know I should be
therapist,
using him quite a bit.
the therapist is the other one that you have to do to unlock the true ending of the game. Like
Okay, well,
you need to get on it if you haven't been, because it has to be at a certain height, and it's by like not even by the end of the
November.
game. It's by November.
Yeah, you have to have them both to like rank 5 or something like that by November, and I'm nowhere near it. But that's what New Game Plus is for, and I'm going to do New Game Plus. So you've inspired me. So right now, I'm working on a catchy. I didn't realize I had to do the other therapist guy. So I guess that I'm going to see 2 innings with that. Ryuji's my boy.
Yes.
On is my on is my lady, and I'm a little hot for teacher. So I don't like that she calls me master, but
Oh,
but but no, I'm having a blast with it, dude. I've beat Persona 3 way back in the day on PS2. I beat Persona 4 on PS2. It's only fitting that I finished Persona 5. So I'm
so
digging it.
glad. I'm so glad that you're digging it.
But guess what it's also doing?
What's it doing?
It made me pick up my dust off my crown, sir. The king of anime is watching Cowboy Bebop for the first time.
I
I'm
saw that
pretty
too, and I was like,
who is this guy?
I am so happy. So many times, like so
I've
many
never
times,
seen it.
so many times people have been like, when people are jumping into anime, they jump in a really weird spot, Cowboy Bebop is one of the best starter animes I
Perfect.
could ever. It's so good.
It's
I'm
perfect. It's in, it's out, it's short, it's sweet.
you don't
It
you
uh,
don't the world that Cowboy Bebop exists in a world where you don't have to understand anything else to get it, and it's perfect.
yeah.
You just watch it.
I'm gonna quote Booker T, man. It's no meat. Oh, I'm sorry. What was he say? No bread, no water, just meat.
Yeah,
That's what that's what Cowboy Bebop is, dude. I love it. I love it.
I'm
I'm like
so
5 episodes in.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm so happy
it's
for
just
you.
good.
I'm so happy for you that your anime that like you're jumping in on is Cowboy Bebop. It's
Yeah.
so Cowboy Bebop's so good. That's such a
Well,
good anime to start with.
I love One Piece. Don't get me wrong. It's very daunting. Knowing that I've got hundreds of episodes to get through really just kind of rubs me the wrong way. But I did buy the game, the new game, Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
So I am gonna play that once I'm done with Persona 5. So I've been talking a lot, dude.
I'm so
I've been
happy.
talking a lot.
I'm so happy for you. All I've been doing here the whole time is just nodding my head and scratching my chin like he's
Yeah. Well, I mean, as the undisputed king of anime,
yeah.
I had to, you know, put another jewel in the crown. So
You're so much the king of anime that your future self came back to your past self to tell you how good Cowboy Bebop is so that you'd watch it.
yeah. I'm also currently trying to track down a copy of the movie. It's not hard, or it's not an easy thing to find, at least at a decent price. So I'm probably gonna have to resort to eBay, and I'm probably gonna have to pay a pretty penny for it.
Or you could hit
Um,
up your friend Aaron who has a Crunchyroll account and it could just let you borrow a password, then you could just log into Crunchyroll and watch the movie.
yeah, I know, and I appreciate that. I think I don't know. I'm starting to kind of rethink my digital lifestyle here, especially just with how hard some things are to get. The 28 days later argument has kind of got to me a little bit. Like that
I
one kind of
I
disappeared from all streaming services.
yeah. Which is so weird. Cause like I feel like I remember there was a point where that movie was everywhere, and now it's like literally, unless you have a DVD copy of it, like
Yeah. Dude, Allie and I watched it on like it was like Netflix or Hulu or something like that during at the very beginning of the pandemic, which was a fucking terrible idea.
yeah,
You know what?
I I can't think of three movies that would be worse to watch than right at the beginning of 2020. I can't think of any movies that would be worse to watch than 28 Days Later.
Yeah, it was. We watched 28 Days Later, and then The Last of Us Part 2 and Resident Evil 3.
And then you
So
built a
all
bomb
came.
shelter.
I played all that stuff and watched it from my throne of toilet paper. So
Oh man, that is. I mean, that's good to hear. Everything you've been talking about, that's good to hear. And
and then the cherry on top, dude, is just it's I'm playing Secret of Mana again.
hell yeah,
Allie let me borrow her Switch, the old stinky Switch, and I'm playing it through the collection of mana. So it has a little bit of lag to it, but it's still scratching the itch. I've been playing it on my lunch breaks at work and at night and all that stuff. So I forget how hard that game is, like especially in the very beginning.
mm-hmm.
But once you get like the magic, it's kind of it's a breeze.
Yeah. I'm
But
gonna have to introduce you to freaking the the randomizer. It's so hard.
I think that one would probably just make me hate myself.
I
Um,
it's so hard. It's so hard for no reason.
I love, speaking of randomizers, one of the things the N64 version of Resident Evil 2 had was a randomizer. And it's crazy because, like, the N64 was always notorious for, like, not having the games that PlayStation had, like the bigger games that they had
Hmm.
because of the cartridge sizes. And they were able to shrink those two big old discs of Resident Evil 2 into that tiny little cartridge, which still blows my mind. And it had exclusive content to it. But those randomizers where they would put like different, they all the guns would be in different spots, ammo and all that stuff be in different spots, ink ribbons, blah blah blah. I love that.
Yeah, it
And I
the fad kind of came and went. I don't know if it's as popular, if it even if it's popular now as it even was like 6 or 7 months ago. But like the fact that that kind of started on the N64 is just bonkers to me.
yeah, it was kind of a novel little thing. It wasn't game changing or anything like that. But for people that knew that game inside and out, like I did and do, it was kind of just a cool kind of like an extra thing to do.
Hmm.
So I think I would like that with the Secret of Mana stuff. I would probably hate myself, but like I mean, we both know those games inside and out. Like it's comfort food. Like it's one of those things that you just jump into and you know exactly where you're going. And I don't know, man. I just I've been playing some good stuff lately, and it's making me really happy. So
All right. All right, I'm gonna talk about my games real quick because
yeah,
I have some weird stuff that happened over the course of the last couple of weeks since you've been gone.
it's a
Okay,
been down.
so Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth, obviously. I'm not gonna go into a rant about it and get started again. So the weird game that I picked up and I've been playing is Game Dev Tycoon. So
Hmm.
it is you are a game developer and you have your little game studio and you make games. And the thing that I kind of love about it is so the game starts and you're just some game developer in his garage on his computer making video games. You're one man team, but the way that they like the way that they kind of set it up because like they tried to make it a little bit historically accurate. So like it starts and you've got like the Commodore 64 and like PC. And then like can make games for one or the other. And then like Commodore slowly like dies and then like Nintendo comes out and then like the Super Nintendo comes out and then the Sega comes out and then like it like goes through the history of video games. So like they are both they're both like trying to explain how the trends of games worked over through the years and like different genres become popular and then fade and different consoles have a shelf life and then eventually they stop being supported and then like but like through this whole thing you always have the choice of like what type of game you want, what genre of game you want, what play style you want, what system you want it to come out for, and then like the other thing that you majorly decide is like you make a game engine in the game like based on specific characteristics for the type of game you want to make an engine for. So like it's just it's really like it's not getting me for like the gameplay loop itself. It's getting me because like you're literally thinking about games as a game developer, but like you're thinking about games as a game developer who's making games in the 90s and then in the early 2000s and then the 2010s and like it's really it's really interesting in a way I didn't think it was going to get me, but it's totally getting me. And I'm like sitting here on my phone like, oh my god, I gotta look at market trends for what's going on during this time period, what games came out during this. Like it's I lost a lot of time to a game that I totally didn't think I would.
Are they allowed to use the names, or are they?
It's all parodies. Like the PlayStation is called the Play System, and the Wii is called the U, and like it's all parodies, but like it's one for one. Like you can obviously.
what's the Wii U called? Is it the UU?
I actually don't remember. I don't think I've actually made it to the Wii U yet, so I don't know what it's called.
Say, do me a favor and save it. Like, make that system great again.
It's really, but it's like really, and another thing that's really interesting is because like in the 90s and in the 2000s, E3 was actually important. So
Yeah,
like part of the game is like when you're developing a game, you want to develop your game around the time that E3 is happening so that you have a demo that's playable at E3 to build up hype for your game so that it will like it's like it completely makes sense, but for some reason my brain just did not think like this is what the game was going to be, but it totally is just you have to figure out how to market and sell your game to the right crowd on the right console with the right rating. And like certain consoles are good for casual games and certain consoles aren't good for casual games and certain consoles are good for strategy games, certain consoles aren't good for strategy games. And then like some consoles are really good at, you can have like mature rated games and then some consoles you can't have mature rated games. Like it has me thinking about video games in the way that we think about them here on the podcast, but like I'm playing a game.
yeah. That's very cool. Is that PC, I assume?
No, it's mobile. Honestly, I got it as part of my Netflix subscription.
What?
Yeah, Netflix has a game library. Do you know that?
I knew they had turtles, but I didn't know they had like there's like the Shredder's Revenge is on there or something like that,
Yeah,
or at least it was at one point. What is it streaming or is it like you download it?
no,
What
it's
do you
just
do
like
with it?
basically it's 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 just like a regular download, but that has like a Netflix DRM. So like when you
Oh,
download the game and like try and open it, it like which Netflix profile are you playing on? And then like I pick my Netflix profile and I have a password on mine because I don't want Dom looking at the adult profile for Netflix yet because she watches all kinds of crazy stuff if we do that. So I put in my password and then like I just play. But like I lost way too much time to it. I was like, I had to like sit myself down. Like you really have to like sit down and like, okay, think about what kind of stuff came out on the PS2. I should probably make this E for everyone. Not a lot of mature games on the PS2. PS2 was really known for like a lot of action games, not a lot of simulators. So I should probably make this an action. And then like you're like, oh, what? Like you have to like sit here and think about it. And like thinking about it in that way, I was like this is really getting me. I was really getting like super into it. And I also found out I'm like I could not be in charge of a like an actual like game studio because like playing the game they're like, "Oh, well, if your game doesn't come out and literally get all tens, then you're going to go broke and bankrupt." Like every game that I make that like is a below a 7 is almost not worth making.
and
I
I think like I'm less of the creative type these days. Like I'm old and I don't have that bug in me, but like the finance side of it, like that's me.
it
You know what I mean? The
like
management side.
like I it really hit me in like a way that I was just not expecting. I got super into it. So I think there's a Game Dev Tycoon 2 or there's one coming and like I never was thought I was gonna be like, man, I'm about to snatch that up. But if there's a 2 out there, I'll probably check it out because like it just it's very interesting to put yourself in that situation and then the game tries really hard to like mimic the environment that was happening during the time frame when the console was out, like what types of games were popular, what type of games were hitting, what types of games weren't hitting, and then and then like they're like, oh well, we added streamers, so like if you have a game, if you drop a game and it is, you know, a genre that these really popular streamers like, you can give them a copy of the game and have them play it to try and drum up sales for you. And it's like so many different aspects of this thing that like I think about all the time, like put into a game. It just, like I said, it hit me in a weird way. And I was like, I can't stop playing this. I played it for like 4 days straight.
I'm gonna put something in the chat real quick or the Discord. Let me see if we go back. I want to know if this is it. Where's this at? It's on iTunes. Is this it?
Yep, that's it.
All right. It's $5. I will buy that on your recommendation.
Okay, I'm being very clear about this because I'm a person who likes Sims in some regard, but like
Yeah,
I just it hit like I hoping I'm explaining well enough like why this like totally effed up my brain for 4 days. It just so that was one. Two, I'm really excited about that new Xmen show. So me and Andrea literally just started from the top. We just started watching the original X-Men, like the 90s cartoon, and we've been watching
yeah,
it for the past like 4 weeks.
it's really good, isn't it?
It is okay. It is awesome. It is everything that I remember it, and now that I'm adult and I understand it better, it is better than I remember it as a kid. But I cannot believe that X-Men, the X-Men show that we watched in the 90s, and Dragon Ball Z were running at the same time.
What do you mean?
Because the animation in that X-Men show is such hot garbage. And it like I'm not talking to the animators, I'm talking to whoever wrote the budget for that show. It is very obvious that it was a budget thing, but the animation in that show is hot garbage.
Interesting. I haven't seen it since we were kids.
Like like
And
I
like,
I'm like I know because I feel the exact same way because it's the exact same way that I feel. And like all you ever really see when people like post stuff about it now is just like still images. But
yeah,
like especially in season 1, the animation in there is so bad. And it's like it's a tribute to how good the show is because I loved it watching it again even though it was bad, but it's bad. And it's completely
the
budget.
funny thing too is like now that I think about it, like Fox, that was a Fox Kids show,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Fox also ran Batman the Animated Series.
Both Batman the animated series and Spider-Man both have animation 10 times better than the X-Men show.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And this
Like
isn't
anime,
like I said, I'm not slamming that X-Men show because I love it and I loved watching it. We just finished up the Phoenix arc and I was like, Phoenix,
yeah,
awesome. But like the animation is terrible. And like to think that like the at the same time we're talking not even just like Saiyan Saga, we're talking Cell Saga, we're talking Boo Saga was running at the same time as freaking the freaking X-Men animated show, and it's like you would watching the and like it's also weird because it is very clear that the animation, the studio that's that made season 1 and 2, like it's a completely different studio for season 3 so far, and it's really obvious.
yeah. One thing that I think they being the X-Men guys really revolutionized with that show was not animation, like you're saying, it's continuity. I think, especially in a cartoon series like that, because if you look at Batman the Animated Series, it's a great show, especially if you look at it as like a kind of an anthology type show.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of continuity from one episode to the next.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely that X-Men show is like watching it in the way that we watched it. It's literally like Like it's literally anime style. Like it's literally episode 1, you know, like X-Men kind of has that jump in, jump out vibe, but like episode 1, people reference stuff, people reference that same stuff in episode 20, and then episode 2 of season 2 and episode 3. Like it's totally a linear story. And like I said, I'm the only thing that I think is weird, and I think this is a thing that we did as kids that the show didn't do. We just got it somehow. Jubilee's powers are not weak.
No, she's really overpowered.
Like, I remember just being like, man, Jubilee, you suck. I remember just thinking like, God, Jubilee and her sparkler hands. But like there's a scene where she runs up on Colossus and doesn't know who he is and like fires at him and throws him through a wall. Like she like blasts Sabretooth out of a building. She like knocks down a sentinel with her powers. Like Jubilee is not weak.
Yeah.
But like I remember thinking that she was absolutely useless.
I read those comics. X-Men 97 had a before it was a show and all that stuff. About 10 years ago ish, maybe, I don't know. Time has no meaning. But they ran a comic series for that, and it was kind of a shorter run. But I may still have it somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, Jubilee was actually a pretty vital character in that.
Like that's
And
another thing that I feel.
Really,
that's another thing that I feel like like we got from somewhere that the show didn't give us. But like Jubilee is like 45% the main character of the X-Men show.
yeah.
Like I feel like they, you know, I mean, Jean has her moments. Like Scott has his moments. Wolverine definitely has his moments. Storm has her moments. Charles has his moments. But like when it's not one of them, the rest of it is freaking Jubilee. Like she's pretty much, if you were to put one character in the show as like the main character, it's probably her. And like,
yeah,
watching it, I'm just sitting here like, this first couple episodes, this is a lot of Jubilee. And then like, the show always kind of starts from her perspective, even if it's another character. Like, it's always like, Wolverine and Jubilee are doing this, or Storm and Jubilee are doing that, or like I'm like, there's a lot of Jubilee in here.
and I wonder if too, like, because the rest of the characters were all adults. I wonder if Jubilee was meant to be as sort of like the anchor point for kids,
like
kind of like how, like with the movies, it was Rogue,
right?
You know, like she was kind of like the first one you see. Well, she's not the first one you see, I don't think, but like he's the one that like you see most of the perspective.
Yeah, and it's the same thing for Jubilee, and Jubilee literally is the first character you see in the X-Men cartoon. Like, the first episode of the cartoon is her parents giving her to the Sentinels, and then the X-Men show up to save her, then she becomes an X-Men, and like, the whole story, rest of the story, takes place from her perspective. Like, every time a new character is introduced, they're like, what does Jubilee think about this? And then Jubilee's like, radical, and then like, the rest of the story happens. So
yes, radical.
I mean, literally.
Nice opinion. Let's do that.
So my favorite thing that besides the whole Phoenix arc, because the whole Phoenix arc is dope. Like,
yeah,
it's just, there's no other way to explain it than it's just the whole Phoenix arc is dope. Like, but like the favorite part that happened so far that I didn't remember from the original watch is Mojo. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know of Mojo. I like X-Men a lot. I can't follow all of it.
It's several throwaway episodes, but like he's a space TV producer. And
okay, not who I was thinking it was.
And everything he says and everything he does is the writers of that show talking about how much they hate Fox. Every moment he's on the screen is him by proxy expressing how much the writers hate Fox. And it's So funny. I forget the one of the ladies' names, but like she's one of his like henchmen. She's got a very memorable like facade. She's like this lady with like a helmet and she has like 6 arms.
Oh God.
Don't worry about it. Like I said, throwaway character. She's very visually rememberable. And Mojo turns to her and she says something snarky to him. He turns back and he's like, "You pretentious stack of armpits." And I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard.
Oh God, what an insult.
I
What an
shot
insult.
seltzer out of my nose. I laughed so hard.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I gotta add that one to the lexicon, man. Just like ah,
He calls her a pretentious stack of armpits. I was like, this man could do no wrong.
that's so
He's
good.
100% innocent. And
Protect this man at all costs.
and so like the whole
And
thing,
his hatred of
it's like the one of those Marvel things that Marvel, I feel like Marvel does this a lot, where there's some intergalactic guy who runs some type of televised tournament that involves like people with superpowers. So like our heroes get trapped in it for some random reason. It happens all the time. So it's not like
Oh yeah.
a super unique storyline. It's just this dude. Every word he says is just him being like, "I'm a piece of crap. Everybody who's like me is a piece of crap. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Everyone who's like me is a piece of crap."
That's awesome.
God,
Dude, and shout out to that show too for like actually kind of treating Cyclops with respect. Like it's probably the last time Cyclops ever got treated with respect. Yeah, I mean, we all know what happened with Cyclops in the X-Men movies and stuff. He was kind of a little bitch, but
he's kind of a little bitch in this too. He's kind of a
Is
little
he?
bitch in this too. Okay,
I'm
okay,
misremembering.
okay. The first season, he's much better after that, but the first season, Cyclops says some of the wildest stuff I have ever heard.
Well, he's white bread, you know what I mean? He's like he's supposed to be like the Red Ranger. He's fucking Captain America. He's Superman, you know, like he's like that sort of like leader hero type guy or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay. The thing about Cyclops in this, and like, okay, in the 90s, where this is from, our generation, and specifically the generation before us, the ones that were actually this show was actually aimed at, they have like a real problem with like authoritative authority.
Oh
And
yeah.
Cyclops he's the worst example I could point out. He's worse than like that Captain America 2 who shows up in freaking The Falcon and the Soldier.
What is his name? U.S. Soldier or U.S. Agent, whatever his name is. I got you. I got you.
Okay.
Just a real tool.
Okay, there's a scene. So this is in the first season when like there's not like the first season has like this vibe of like, even though the X-Men aren't new to like being X-Men, they're still hidden. They're not like out in public as much. They're kind of a myth. They're kind of building their brand. So like Gambit is talking to Cyclops. And Gambit is like, "I heard about this place. It's like a spa, and it's like a spa planet, a spa retreat where we can go. They welcome mutants there. You know, we want to go there to, check it out and relax and have a good time." And like,
Is it just the YMCA? Because you're describing the YMCA.
yeah, kind of. I phrased that real bad and I didn't even notice. It's
Yeah. Hot.
yes. I did not notice I was doing it until you said it.
Young man.
So, so
Oh god,
he's like,
this one's on him.
we should get all the X-Men and we should go. We should go. I was about to say have a good time. God damn.
I'm waiting for it. It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
I was really about to say have a good time. I don't
I
remember the
know you
last
were.
I don't remember the last time I actually said those words for real. I was about to say it. I don't know why. Fucking I'm
Oh
possessed by the
god,
construction worker or something. I don't know.
I'm dying. Oh,
So
I, I want to be a happy Native American.
okay, that is Gambit's vibe. That's his vibe. Cyclops turns around to Gambit, puts his hand on his visor, looking Gambit right in the face, and he says, "If you say another word, I'll end you." To Gambit in the mansion. And then Gambit's like, "What?" And then like pulls his cards out and is ready to scrap because Cyclops is literally about to shoot him.
Nah.
And then like the Xavier comes in, he's like, "What's going on here?" And he's like, "This one doesn't know how to follow orders." I'm like, he's suggesting you go to a spa. What is happening? And then Charles is like, maybe we should investigate this to make sure it's on the level for all mutant kind. And then they end up going. But like, Cyclops was literally about to shoot him because he's like, we should go to the spa. And Cyclops is like, no. I was like, I completely understand why everyone hates you because this is just out of character. This isn't comic Cyclops. Comic Cyclops is a straight-laced leader, but he would not ever point, I mean, his visor, I guess, at a comrade, without a reason and without like a reason that requires deadly force. Like, he's not that guy. He's just like a straight-laced rule follower. Like, I understand where people got that bad image because that, and it happens multiple times where he just, for some reason, is completely out of left field, ready to like blast someone for no reason. Like some guy's like, this doctor can cure mutantism. He's like, you say that again, and I'll blast you. Like, whoa, whoa, buddy, whoa, whoa, calm down. So, but the characters like have this like the show has this ability that like takes all of the X-Men characters and like puts them in this like, I don't know how to explain it other to say like they all feel like legends when you're watching it. Like every time Storm talks in her like freaking weather witch voice where she's like, "Whoa, master of the elements!" Like it's like yes. And then Gambit always gotta like, he's gonna say something quippy and then throw a card for no reason that doesn't do anything, but it still looks cool. Like I just freaking Wolverine says "bub" as many times as you want him to and more. It's
dude. That's why I say bub. I say bub quite a bit at work. You know what I mean? Like it's because it's stupid. You know what I mean? But like I don't know. Like I love that Wolverine. That Wolverine is my like the yellow and the blue Wolverine. Like I love that Wolverine.
You want to know something interesting about that Wolverine?
What's that?
You want to know something interesting about that Wolverine? He's also Spike.
What was that? He's Spike.
The voice actor for Wolverine is Spike.
Well, what's his name? It's Steve Bloom.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I knew that, but I looked up the voice cast for it, and I think he's the only one that I actually recognized.
Probably, but that's just a random. But like, I
didn't put that together though. That's awesome.
Sometimes like there are things like this that like you go back into the past and they're not as good as they were when you watched them as a kid. X-Men, not one of them. It's as good, and if you like truly have appreciation for X-Men and really enjoy it, it's as good as it was when you were a kid. And then if you carried on with your love of X-Men to an adulthood, it's better than it was when you were a kid. Because
Yeah.
you don't look at these characters who randomly show up and go like, oh, this guy's cool, I guess. You're like, oh my, it's a freaking, and you're like, every character that shows up it's like they didn't use any throwaway character. When Emma Frost shows up, she's Emma Frosting and it's awesome. Like all of them. And it's like, they did a really good job of characterizing every character that shows up, and everyone feels like they all feel like legends when you watch them the show again. Like,
Did you start with this one, or did you start with the Disney Plus show and then move into this one?
no, we started with the old one. We wanted, because I mean,
Okay.
according to what I've been told and heard, the new one is literally just season 6 of the old X-Men show. So I was like, well, why don't we
Yeah.
just start at the season 1 and watch it all the way through?
Yeah. May as well. I mean, if it's all there for you on Disney Plus, may as well.
I have been enjoying it thoroughly. It's so much fun.
Good. That's awesome, man. And like fun is really just at the end of the day, like that's what you should be doing. Like these comic books should be fun. They shouldn't be a pain in the butt. They shouldn't make you mad. It should be fun,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people take it way too seriously. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's fun though.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's up?
oh, go ahead.
I was
gonna say.
Okay, you go.
Oh, go. No, because that's gonna be it. Like it pertains to what we're talking about, but it's gonna take me a minute. Just go for it.
The one thing that I have noticed that I didn't remember from my original watch through of all of this is how much they use Bishop in like time travel stories.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place.
It's literally like the first like 5 episodes, Bishop shows up. And then, like, before the end of the first season, he shows up again. And then before the end of the second season, he shows up again. I'm like, how many times is this dude gonna travel through time? Like how many times do we fuck this up that he has to keep coming back to fix it?
The one thing the X-Men is confusing. Like, if it didn't have some sort of weird, like, continuity, time travel, like, it wouldn't be X-Men.
Oh.
And even like the movies kind of got into that stuff too, which I thought was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, me and Andrea were talking about how big how big Mystique's Wikipedia page is because she's so many people's quote unquote mom.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's also my mom. More like mommy. But anyway, that's gross. That's
like
really gross.
Like in one of the episodes in the first season, it's like Mystique shows up. It's like Mystique is Rogue's mom. It's like air quotes mom, yes, but not like mom, but air quotes mom. But like Mystique is like 15 other people's quote unquote mom. That the only
So what I would go ahead.
The only people whose mom Mystique actually is are all some of the worst characters in X-Men. Like she has a kid with Charles, and then she has a kid with Sabretooth, and then she has a kid with Wolverine, and it's like all of those are actually like the worst characters in X-Men because the storylines are really bad.
There's a lot of silly ones. There's a lot of silly characters.
But X-Men, good. If you decided not to watch it and just skip to the X-Men 98, give the original X-Men a chance. It's good.
The last thing I'll talk about before we kind of get out of here and stuff, it's about time for old Brett to go to bed.
Sleepy Brett.
So WrestleMania was last weekend.
Yes, let's talk about WrestleMania.
I know we talked a little bit about how wrestling is anime, and I still plan to eventually explain that one day. But in this post Vince McMahon world of professional wrestling, because Vince McMahon's not in WWE anymore. He's gone. Completely gone. He will never come back. Triple H is the he's in charge of creative now. And they have been weaving this story over the last 4 years, the Bloodline saga. So Roman Reigns has been champion for the last 4 years, and he's beaten everybody there is to beat. And he does it through. I mean, he's a boss. You know, he's got like this whole crime boss thing going for him. But he, you know, by hook or by crook, you know, his family gets in with it as well, and how like cheats or helps them cheat to win, that kind of stuff. Anyway, 4 years culminating with this WrestleMania here. Last year's Cody won the Royal Rumble, Cody Rhodes, and challenged Roman Reigns and lost. And the whole internet went into an uproar. Cody Rhodes won this year's Royal Rumble, so got the challenge for the title at WrestleMania this year. Well, The Rock had come in and seemingly like took his spot and all that stuff. Well, come to find out, you know, since Cody's got the Royal Rumble spot, you know, he won that, so he gets the title match. So WrestleMania is 2 nights now. And speaking of comic books, WWE just produced their version of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame all in one weekend. So WrestleMania being 2 nights, if they didn't do that, WrestleMania would be 12 hours long now. Like no joke.
All I have been seeing, like I said, all I've been seeing about wrestling is it just seems like it's just been building up for like since the last time we talked. It seems like everything has just been ramping up to like an insane level, and then like I look and like I'm like checking, I'm on Twitter just looking, and like I'm like, what is actually happening? I can't wait to talk to Brett about this, because I have like I haven't watched it, but just everything I've been hearing on the internet sounds insane, and I need him to break it down for me.
So The Rock has come back, right? And he interjected himself, and like he came in as a good guy, and the fans kind of turned on him when he started stepping on Cody's toes. So they pivoted, or at least seemingly pivoted, where since Cody Rhodes has the one, he wins the Royal Rumble, he gets the main event spot at WrestleMania against the champion of his choosing. Well, The Rock had come in and wanted to challenge Roman Reigns, so Cody, quote unquote, gave his spot to The Rock, right? And fans turned on it like big time. So they started booing The Rock and all this stuff. Well, they did this event in Las Vegas where they were seemingly going to sign the contract for Roman Reigns versus The Rock, which would be a really big match. But they had Cody come out, and they've been allowing them to like cuss more, which is great. Like using the F bomb quite a bit. Cody comes out, he's like, this is bullshit. And The Rock and Roman Reigns, the whole thing about this is family, right? Because it's Fast and the Furious, so it's all this other garbage. So The Rock comes out with this giant family tree, and it's everybody in his family. It's got like Rikishi and Yokozuna and the Usos and Umaga and all these other like Samoan wrestlers that have kind of come from this family. And yeah, it's like, yeah, this is bullshit. I'm taking my spot back, and we're gonna do this. So Roman Reigns and The Rock team up, right? And The Rock adopts this new sort of nickname as the final boss. And in this,
okay,
outside of the storyline,
I have to interject really quick. Yeah. Wasn't there a point where The Rock was getting called Diarrhea Dwayne or something like that?
Oh yeah, that was part. Seth Rollins had kind of come to Cody's aid, and Seth Rollins is like adversary number one of Cody Rhodes. So basically, you've got Goku and Vegeta teaming up to take on the big bads, right? And Cody started saying like, well, everything that comes out of The Rock's mouth is bullshit, so we're just going to start calling him Diarrhea Dwayne. So on an episode of SmackDown, Rock comes out, and this whole sold out crowd, because they've been selling out every single arena that they've been in, just starts chanting diarrhea, diarrhea. Yeah, it's a wrestling chant. But yeah, Diarrhea Dwayne.
I'm totally on board with that. Just the idea that like, I mean, I guess it's public perception, but like the idea that like from where we started and where he started, they like are turning The Rock into a heel is really
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Well, and like he's into it now. Like The Rock, like now that we know everybody's roles in this, Cody is he's the white meat baby face. Like he is the hero of the story. And usually like wrestling crowds will reject stuff like that. Like they did that with Hulk Hogan, they did that with John Cena. They want the anti-hero. But in this in this situation, Cody is just he could do no wrong. The crowd is behind him. The Rock is leading into it, calling those fans the Cody crybabies. He's
I
got a
I feel like as much as like as much as he The Rock gives off his like kind of like perfect guy vibe, I feel like he would be a really good heel.
oh dude, he always has been. He was great in the late '90s, and he's great now, and he leaned into it. So they kind of go on back and forth. The Rock slapped Cody at the press conference in Las Vegas, and Cody kind of got it. He got his slap back, all that good stuff. Well, leading up to WrestleMania, again, Roman's put away all these top names from Edge to John Cena to Kevin Owens to Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, The Fiend, all these guys. So leading up to WrestleMania, the main event for night one is The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And if The Rock and Roman Reigns win, they get bloodline rules on night two of WrestleMania, which is headlined by Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns for the championship, right? What are bloodline rules? Nobody fucking knows. But anyway, so the match happens, and you've got three of the four guys are wrestling on night two, so they're obviously trying to preserve themselves. The Rock is a movie star, and he can't really fall down very much, right? Well, it ends up being a pretty low match to begin with, but then it ramps up at the end. The Rock and Roman Reigns end up winning that match, right? The heroes are defeated. They have lost everything. It's Infinity War. That one ends on a pretty tragic note, right?
hmm
So starting night two of WrestleMania, the everybody's kind of all the good guys are on the back foot. Seth Rollins has a separate match. He loses his world title. So he's dejected. Like he had a world title as well. So it gets to the main event with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. It's bloodline rules, right? So it starts off, it's a traditional wrestling match. And again, what are bloodline rules? Nobody fucking knows. It can be anything. It's supposed to be no disqualification, no count out, blah blah blah. Anybody can come in. So why doesn't Roman Reigns' family come in, in the middle of the match? Well, whatever. Stories. So they have their traditional wrestling match. They go back and forth on pinfalls and blah blah blah. Two counts here, all that good stuff. Well, then people start kind of coming out, right? So Roman Reigns has his bloodline family. He's got Jimmy Uso, he's got Solo Sikoa, he's got The Rock. And then Doctor Strange starts making the portals. And all these people that the bloodline has wronged over the last 4 years start coming out. So Jimmy Uso comes in and kicks Cody Rhodes in the face. Well, his brother Jay, that got kicked out of the bloodline, comes out and beats up Jimmy Uso. He's neutralized, gone. Solo Sikoa comes out, and he had put out John Cena a few months ago, right before Cena went back to Hollywood. Cena's music hits, and Cena comes out. And so Cena takes out Solo Sikoa, and then he takes out Roman Reigns. And all this time, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes are on the floor now, right? They're all beat up. The Rock comes out, and he has this big stand-in with John Cena. They kind of look at each other and blah, blah, blah. Like, Rock lays out John Cena. Great. He's down. Goodbye. John's dead. And then the Undertaker's gong goes off. Mm. And everybody's expecting Stone Cold Steve Austin at this point for some reason. I don't know why, but Undertaker's gong goes off. The lights go out, and they're out for a little while because Undertaker's like 78 years old.
Yeah.
So he's gotta work his way back in the ring safely and stuff. So the lights come back on. He's snarling. He choke slams The Rock, and then the lights go out again for another 8 minutes because it takes them a little while to get out of there.
Yeah.
And then the lights come back on, and everybody's neutralized. So Seth Rollins comes out. He's got the history of Roman Reigns going back to the Shield. And instead of Roman hitting Cody with the chair, he hit Seth Rollins with the chair, which gives Cody Rhodes the opportunity to get Roman Reigns. He pins him 1, 2, 3. Reigns has only been pinned twice in the last 4 years. Everybody erupts. And then Doctor Strange's portals keep going, and everybody that the bloodline has wronged over the last 4 years has come out. They put Cody on their shoulders, and it's just a great way to end the night. Fucking A, dude. Like, grade A, just great storytelling, just masterpiece. Wrestling is amazing. It's the best form of entertainment, bar none.
I just like I love like I feel like now this is as a wrestling outsider, I feel like the Vince McMahon era is very like down to earth, like down to the ground, nitty gritty. Like it feels very like 90s and 2000, like early 90s and 80s kind of. And then like what you're describing to me sounds exactly like fucking Endgame. Like I
Yeah.
I love it.
The Vince McMahon era, like the problem with Vince. Well, okay,
Yeah.
if I talk about the problems with Vince, we'd be here all night. But Vince, if he specifically didn't give it his stamp of approval, it doesn't exist, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody got when I say got over, I mean like with the fans, got popular with the fans. If somebody got over on their own volition, he would complete. It doesn't matter how popular it is, doesn't matter how many T-shirts that person's selling. Vince will bury it. Case in point was his real name is Brian Danielson. He's in AEW now, but he went by Daniel Bryan, and he got over. It was he had a world championship, so I mean they were back with him a little bit, but he was gaining popularity. Well, they made him lose in 18 seconds at WrestleMania, and he's a great wrestler, dude. Probably like pound for pound, maybe the best of all time? Question mark. If you can even determine that. But after that, like the fans started getting behind him. The yes movement. I mean, you've seen the clips of people like pointing their arms up in the air and going yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Oh yeah.
That's where that came from. And they got it. The fans started getting behind that, and Vince said, "Nah," and decided to bring back Batista instead and have him main event the WrestleMania until the fans started like making it undeniable to the point where they had to interject him with it or they had to insert him in that main event. So, I mean, if Vince didn't like it, he wasn't going to go along with it. The thing about the Triple H stuff now that he's the company that owns UFC, their company name is TKO, they bought WWE.
Hmm.
And now there's more of it's a more stable system. It's not all about what Vince wants. It's about what what they so it's a different perspective.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely okay. The best way that I can describe what I'm trying to explain, and I think I'm kind of hitting the nail on the head, but like this this feels like it it builds to like so it feels like someone sat down, and I mean this in the most generous and nice way, but it feels like someone sat down and like is writing a story and like wrote a story that like kind of went until all these crescendos. I'm sure there's things that were edited and changed along the way determined by what the fans were liking and not liking at the time. Wrestling feels like it's got a very like
no, you hit it.
yeah. But like the older
They
stories all
were
the older stories always felt like they like no matter what happened, WrestleMania once WrestleMania closed, they like that chapter is over forever and now we're writing a new one.
yep. Roman had this championship. The man he beat for it actually passed away late last year. The majority of the people he's beaten moved on to other companies. Like it's been that long of a run. And I mean, there were definitely a lot of moving parts to it. Like, but the heart and the soul of it were Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns writing these stories. and then Triple H as well. But we've all been kind of sitting here waiting for that other shoe to drop. Like, well, somebody's got to beat Roman eventually, right? Right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not last year, but the year before that, they like once everything started kind of opening back up from the pandemic, they started going overseas. Well, they did this event. It was in the UK. It was called Clash of the Castle. Drew McIntyre was one of their biggest baby faces that they had. He's from Scotland. So they're overseas. They got this packed stadium, you know, tens of thousands of people in this place. And the buzz was Roman Reigns, he was going to lose. Was that the time? Well, no, and it ended up being Roman Reigns would beat him and all that stuff, and that ended up being the story with a lot of things. But there were always a lot of logical points where Roman could lose, but he just kept winning, and people kind of got sick of it after a little while, especially because Roman Reigns doesn't show up very often anymore. But this one, like I said, Cody Rhodes fought him last year at WrestleMania, and having the same main event 2 years in a row doesn't happen very often. It's only happened a couple other times in WWE history, but like to be able to run that story for 4 years and then run this particular story back to back, it's peak storytelling, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's everything.
When you have that wave of like when the audience is feeling you, and you have that wave where they feel like that you're gonna take them to the happy ending they're looking for. Sometimes you can do things that you never imagine when you have that wave. Like there are some, like, I mean, the best example is the parallel we're talking about. Like friggin' imagine like in the early 90s where like some comic or book movie director was like, I'm gonna make Endgame. We would be like, who? Like you're gonna put all these movies together and then you're gonna make us watch this series of movies over the next 7 years, and you're gonna cap it off with this movie that's gonna be the highest selling movie of all time. Bullshit. But
Yeah. And that's the comparison, and I don't just say, Infinity War and Endgame because, one night was tragic and then the next night was, a triumph. Like you can't get to that without having Iron Man 3. You can't get to that without having fucking Thor Dark World or whatever. You have to have these like high and low points and stuff. These peaks and valleys.
Thor Dark Worlds.
Yeah, well, I mean, every once in a while you're gonna have, Roman Reigns fight, fucking Doink the Clown, I guess. But and I just compared Thor Dark World to Doink the Clown because of course I did. But but it's comic books, dude. And I think that like people are really wrestling has never been more popular than it is right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with comic books, and it has to do with like the MCU and all these other things. Like people are invested in these things. And when you can capture that audience like that for this amount of time, people will buy into it to the point where we're at crescendos, like you just said, at the end of that night when, when Iron Man finally snaps his fingers and gets rid of Thanos and all the little goons. You know what I mean? When Cody finally pins Roman Reigns and gets rid of all the little, your Jimmy Usos and your Solace and stuff, those people are going to erupt. I love it.
Yep.
So I didn't necessarily compare it to anime this time around, but like I hope that long journey that I just took you on, I hope that made sense.
It's like
I did that on the fly too. I didn't write any of that down.
It's one of those situations where like it's awesome even if you're not like directly a part of it, but it's awesome when like something like that like people have been anticipating and waiting for, and like it's so awesome when it pays off the way they want it to. Like I feel like there's a lot of like negativity about like stuff like this where like people are like waiting for something to fail a lot of times, but like I love it when someone takes like they take the long way and they build this huge thing up. And then when it finally, I want to say it because it sounds gross, but when the climax finally happens and it's everything that the people wanted it to be, I love that. I love seeing, because like wrestling is full of a bunch of real people written into storylines, and it's not, you know, nobody is actually Thanos in a story, in a wrestling storyline, but like I love a storyline going like this, and then it ends and everyone loves it and no one's pissed off and no one's bitter, and it's just like boom, I'm so happy that this happened. It's so awesome. It was so awesome to watch. And then the next story happens. Like I said, if I had space in my brain for it, bro, I don't.
I think if I don't watch it week to week anymore, I just don't. I don't have the capacity for it. But the next time a wrestling show comes on, I think maybe we get together for it. And I guarantee you don't have to watch week to week to feel something. It's so good. And the best part about the Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes thing, this is the last thing I'll say, is when they were in the middle of that ring and they were looking at each other eye to eye, man to man. In the back shot of it, there was a sign that says Roman eats corn the long way. And it just makes everything better.
That's awesome.
And that's where I'll finish.
That's
Then,
perfect.
Whatever. All right. I don't have positives or anything like that. I just got to go to bed.
Okay. we can have a more organized and more structured podcast next time. We just, like I said, both of us were just like, blah, 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 we have stuff to talk about. Oh my God. So
you know what? I think those are our best shows though.
Yeah,
I really do.
They're super genuine, and like sometimes, like I said, like I keep saying, sometimes we just have a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about, and then it just like erupts out of us in a very like genuine way.
Like I don't always want to pull back the curtain and stuff on like how we do things here, but like we have a Google Doc, and the only thing I don't even think I saw what Aaron wrote in there, but I wrote down just a couple things that I was playing. All of it was us shooting from the hip. We haven't written down a single thing. This show is genuinely just two best friends sitting down talking about life and video games and comic book, whatever, like just the things that we love to do. And these are the things that we've been doing since we were kids. And I really hope, I hope against hope with all, if we've got 10 listeners or 10,000 listeners, whatever, I really hope that people enjoy this show because I enjoy making it. I enjoy sitting down with my best friend and doing this stuff. So, you know what? I did just use a positive. There's my fucking positive.
My positive is that I absolutely also love doing this podcast. I love just shooting the shit about whatever's going on and having like the moment of like me getting you hype about something or you getting me hype about something or us just having a conversation about something, and just it's awesome. Like, guys, I'm not gonna say go get a podcast, but like make sure you're expressing your joy. So many people spend so much time thinking about how much they hate things and how things that they hate. Like, make sure you're expressing your joy. There you go.
Yeah. And just remember, it's fun to stay at the YMCA.
I totally did not realize I was doing it. And then like I realized I was doing it, stopped doing it, and then fell right back into it. I don't know what happened.
Young man, are you listening to me?
Oh God. All right, man.
I hope that sticks in your head all day tomorrow.
I don't know what happened. I don't randomly sing the YMCA. This is not something that happens. All right. I love you. I'll catch you next time.
Love you too, buddy. All right.
All right.
That's a good show.